we are going to be reviewing the new 2025 Michael Jackson biopic, Michael, right here on the Johnnie Loves Movies YouTube. So today we were going to be reviewing the Michael Jackson biopic, Michael. Just came out this weekend, April 24th, 2025. Is the latest release to the movie theaters and possibly going to be the biggest release of this weekend. Michael is a biopic about the late, great King of Pop icon, Michael Jackson. This movie covers about the movie covers the rise of his career from 1966 all the way up until 88, where the film ends. And it's really just kind of like a collection of iconic moments reenacted in this film. And the through line of this film is really the relationship between Michael Jackson and his father, Joseph Jackson. And that's really just a summary of what this movie is about and what you're really going to see when you spend your money on a ticket for this film. I'm going to tell you the good. I'm going to tell you the bad. I'm going to actually tell you if this movie is actually worth the 30 at this point. I believe it's the third is at 39% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's actually increased from the 27% on Rotten Tomatoes. And if the movie really is that bad, I'm gonna go off the back, and we're just gonna do the positives. We're gonna start positive with this. Jafar Jackson, man, son of Jermaine, plays his uncle in this film, Michael Jackson. And I got to say, the kid is good, especially for this being his first performance on film, on screen, as an on screen talent. He is really good at embodying the character that was his uncle. He invokes his mannerisms, the speech patterns, how he walked, how he walked, and how he was as a person. I got to say that I don't know Michael Jackson personally, but I have read stories about Michael Jackson. And from the stories, I would have to say that, the kid knew his uncle the best. And I feel like he really did succeed in portraying his uncle in those personal, private moments, as personal and private as the movie allows for it to get with his subject. And I feel like Jafar Jackson did an excellent job. This is more than an impression. This was a really deep performance. I could tell the actor did a lot of work, and when you watch his behind the scenes interviews or his interviews on Jimmy Fallon and whatnot, and he talks about his process on how he got the role. This was a 2-year process of him taking acting lessons and learning how to command the scene, have presence, hold weight in the minor moments that are in between lines of dialogues. I can tell you there's certain looks that he gives when he emotes just with his eyes, especially when it's between him and Joe Jackson. He was able to carry those scenes really well, and the kid, I think he did a very, very good job. A lot of people are speculating Oscars. It's too early to tell. We don't know how the year is going to turn out performance wise, but um, if it is a soft year, I really think that this kid should be nominated. You know what I mean, in the Best Actor category. So this kid gives a performance that would be worthy of an Oscar. So we just got to see how the races turns out this week, or not this week, this year, and if it's a good year for performances, I don't see him getting nominated. But if it is like a mid year, and he's the cream of the crop, definitely expect for him to be nominated. Because he's really really good at portraying his uncle in this film. Another positive I have from another actor who I have the same particulars for Jafar on whether or not he'll get nominated is Coleman Domingo as Joe. Coleman Domingo was really, really excellent as Joe Jackson. I can tell you there are scenes. I seen this movie about 2 days ago. There are scenes from this movie that really like still stick with me from his performance. He has a menace that the actor from God forgive me, I forgot his name in American Dream, but the actor who played Joe in American Dream um, did not. I wouldn't say did not have, but he lacked in his performance. that he has. They're both very different performances if you're going to compare it. But I will say I feel like Colman was actually stronger as Joe Jackson here than he was portrayed back in American Dream. I was certainly more intimidated by Colman than I was the actor in American Dream. And he was really, really good. He was really dynamic as Joseph Jackson. There was almost like a horror movie villain esque to quality to his performance. That was really good. I think Joe I'm gonna call him Joe. I think that Coleman Domingo really carries the performance, especially in between dialogues, just like with Jaafar Jackson. There are certain looks that he gives that you can really see that he put the work in as a performer. And so I really enjoyed those scenes. I really enjoy his presence in this movie. He was really good. And for this movie to be essentially a two-hander, because I'm gonna be honest with you, none of the other siblings really get that much shine in this movie. This is really Michael's story. It is not a Jackson's story. This is about Michael and his father. So you really don't really get much from, Jermaine, Jackie, Marlon, Reby. Reby's not even in the movie. Latoya, Tito. You really don't get that much. Janet's not even in the movie either. So you really don't get that much from his siblings. But you really get a lot of scenes with Katherine, Joe, and Michael. And really the through line, the plot of this movie really is him and his father and him breaking away from the family to go solo. And that father-son dynamic. Like there is an arc to the movie. Like one of the main criticisms that is holding this movie back for certain critics who gave this movie low ratings on Rotten Tomatoes is the fact they feel like this movie doesn't have a narrative. It's a collection of highlight reels, clips of Michael's greatest hits, which is something I vehemently disagree with. I really feel like the through line is the relationship between Michael and his father, and there are individual character arcs between both characters. So, because when you're telling a story, there has to be an arc, and there's a beginning, middle, and end to that story. So when you go and you see this movie, right, and you're looking for a story, that's your story. His relationship with his father. Is there emotional catharsis? Is there stakes? Is there an arc? Are they changed characters from the beginning to the end of the movie? And yes, they are. And so when you're looking at film, that's what you need to look for. You don't need to look for, is this movie telling me a compelling story? What more do I need to know about the greatest icon who ever walked the face of the earth, the greatest musical icon who ever walked the face of the earth? And I got to be honest with you, Michael has a lot of books, a lot of documentaries, a lot of subjects written about him. So there's really nothing new under the sun. And a lot of these critics who gave this movie negative reviews, one of their major complaints is the fact that they feel like this movie doesn't really offer that. And I disagree. I feel like you're not supposed to learn anything that you don't already know because everything's been covered about this man. What they're really highlighting to you is his relationship between him and his father. That's the plot. That's what this movie is about. That's the emotional hook of this film. Everybody on the planet Earth has a father. Everybody on the planet Earth has a relationship, whether it's turbulent, estranged, or all good. You know what I mean? Everybody has that commonality. So that's what the plot of this movie is. And by the end of this movie, like I said, both characters are changed, for the better or worse. Depends on how you look at it. And so when it's that narrative and if it's that through line, I really think the movie really succeeds at that. And so those are the positives that I took out of the movie. Now the mixed, I'm not even gonna say that necessarily there was bad. The mix is pacing. You know what I mean? I feel like this movie for 2 hours, I feel like it has like a fast pace, almost a too fast pace. There's like certain periods of the film that I really wish they really elaborated on. Like for me personally, Thriller is my favorite Michael Jackson album. It's my favorite album of all time. And I really feel like Thriller was kind of just sped on through. You know what I mean? I really feel like they didn't really take time to develop, to nurture, to explain the process of what went on when he went on to create one of the greatest freaking albums of all time. And so we feel like that was glossed over, and they went straight to the Victory Tour, and well, they went straight to Billie Jean, then the Victory Tour. And so I really feel like it just had like a breakneck speed to it that I really feel like they should have lived more in that period of Thriller before you got to the Victory Tour, and ultimately you end the movie on the tour he does for Bad, because the movie ends in '88. I apologize for the car in the background. And so I really feel like that the movie needed to take its time more. Like, honestly, this movie was supposed to come in 4 hours, and there's speculation that there's going to be a part two. The way the movie ends, there's definitely going to be a part two. And the reason why they had to redo their third act is because of a settlement that Michael Jackson did for the 1993 case, where the victim cannot be portrayed on screen. So they had to really completely rework that, and so they ended it in '88. And I think part two is going to cover that. I don't know the legalese or what they're going to do to work through that to go from that period onward towards the end. I'm really intrigued, but this movie definitely ends on there's going to be a part two. And that ending is a big problem. And that's also another reason why I feel like this movie scored so low, because it kind of feels like the movie ends in the middle of the story. It's kind of like you have all this setup, all this build up, and it's going at a good pace, and it's starting to get really, really, really good, and then credits. And then they give you that little Avenger-esque tag where it's basically like Michael Jackson will return in Secret Wars. So the movie, I feel like it should have ended better. You know what I mean? It's not about how you start; it's about how well you finish. I really feel like that definitely should have been, I don't know, cooked a little bit better, cooked a little bit more. I mean, it's a problem for me, but it's not really a problem for me because I had such a good time. So I really understand the negative reviews behind it because of that ending. And also I understand because and these are critics who are who are giving us low reviews. So I'm not going to attack them for media literacy because they're film critics, so they should understand narrative structure, writing, and how film um is told. But to say this film has no narrative, that is just something I completely disagree with. It might not be a compelling narrative to them, but it is a narrative, and I found the narrative compelling. I think father son stories are a dynamic that should be explored in media. And they're a great dynamic to be explored in media. And so, I just feel like maybe the narrative wasn't compelling to them because maybe they have good relationships with their father. I mean, I have a good relationship with my father, and I still found it compelling, but I don't know. You know, maybe that's just something that they can't really get behind or really enjoy. So um, that's really my mixed thoughts on it. Like I said, overall, as a Michael fan, as a fan of Michael Jackson, this movie is definitely a 10. As a fan of movies, because of the way the movie ended, because of the pacing, because my biggest issue is the editing and the pacing of this film. So I got to knock it down probably to like a 2.5, 3. I've been wrestling, so I'm gonna settle for 2.5 out of 5. And 2.5 out of 5 essentially is basically like for me on my scale 7, 6.5 out of 10. Because I said the first one was out of 10, so yeah, this would probably be like a 6.5, 7 out of 10 as like a movie connoisseur. So like really for me, it evens out to around an 8 out of 10, basically. That's where it evens out for me. Um, but yeah, is this movie as bad as the critics say? No, it's not. This is a really, really good movie, and it really just depends on what you're going for. Honestly, if you're going as a Michael fan, this is a fantastic movie. If you're just going as like a guy who just loves movies, it's a good movie. But if you're looking for it to be like something where you're learning something new or something salacious, or you're just wanting to see a deep exploration in the isolation that you have for that celebrities, the isolation that celebrities, megastars have, where they can't connect to people because they're so famous. kind of like the Elvis movie that came out a few years ago, then yeah, you're gonna walk out disappointed about the film. This is not definitely not going to be the film that you want because honestly, dealing with the being isolated and dealing with the fears and of being alone and not connecting with people, I understand that's more compelling than daddy issues. So I definitely get it. But for me, I thought the narrative was good enough. You know what I mean? I thought it was good enough. And I really don't think this deserves to be 39% on Rotten Tomatoes. Maybe 70%, maybe 60, but 39, I just feel like that's just a bridge too far. Um, and so yeah, I don't think this movie is bad at all. I think this is a great movie as a Michael fan. As a movie fan, it's an okay movie. And that's really all I have to say about that. So yeah, anyway, that's the review. That's the movie. Johnny loves movies. I'm Johnny, aka the Shogun of Akron. Thank you for riding with me. Thank you for watching this review. And thank you for accepting this review in lieu of April Chino, which we're not finished with it until next week. So April Chino, please be here Wednesday, 8 a.m. for the live stream. Not 8 a.m. Sorry, 8 p.m. for the live stream. If you hear 8 a.m., I feel bad for you because I'm gonna be asleep. But 8 p.m. next Wednesday, the final episode of April Chino, we'll be doing Any Given Sunday and Dog Day Afternoon. And happy birthday to Al Pacino. His birthday's tomorrow. But yeah, this is the review. Thank you for watching. I'll see y'all later. Peace.